Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om 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 Nithyananda Paramashivam.
Nityanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya-dilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam.
Nithyanandam, everyone.
Welcome to Nithyananda TV. I am Sri Nithya Rajananda Maharaj.
And I am Sri Nithya Ramanathananda Maharaj.
And today we have a very interesting topic for you all about what is the source of real heroism and how in Hinduism we celebrate and cherish non-violence as the true heroism in our lives. From the profound teachings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, we will explore the concept of non-violence as the true embodiment of heroism. Rooted in the rich Hindu texts, Ahimsa stands as a timeless principle that emphasizes compassion, harmony, and peaceful coexistence.
Yes, all of us know about how the non-violence, most of us know about the violence being the heroism.
Yes.
That's what we have learned, whether it's the movies that we watch, the TV series that we watch, or any of the news article that we read, everywhere, it's the violence that is celebrated as heroism, the anger, the violence. This has always been projected as heroism, and this is what we start cognizing in our life, that if I have to behave like a hero, I have to be a violent person, I should be able to handle 10 different people, I should be able to beat them, defeat them. But here, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is going to be has given us a completely different perspective, a different understanding how non-violence is going to be heroism. So in today's session, we are going to be exploring the various deeper understanding and truths given by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And we also going to be learning how to imbibe, how to manifest, radiate non-violence in our life and become the real hero.
Yes, and we are by nature actually very non-violent. It is just the societal conditioning and outside influence that makes us understand, makes us think that violence is necessary, that violence is what is necessary to be able to stand up, and it is a sign of strength in life. No, it is absolutely a false idea that violence is a strength in one's life. Actually, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism tells that it is because of the non-violent nature of Hinduism that is where Hindus even find their strength today. It is because of these core values of Ahimsa that Hindus find strength in. And it is all about triggering negativity, friction among human beings, and then clashing the cheap emotions just to make money. This is the cheapest business, to show violence and show that violence is the mainstream. Violence is that which will give you the strength that you need to be able to do what you want to do. For example, you have a family you want to be able to grow and prosper with and protect. Then maybe the wrong idea will also come that when it comes to be necessary, violence will be the answer. That is also a wrong idea. Using the intelligence that is given to us by Paramashiva, using the mind and using our hearts and putting together all that is inside of us and becoming integrated to our true nature, which is non-violence, will help us make correct decisions that don't result in blunders and don't result in violence in the society itself.
Yes. So the very first solution I will say that Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has given us the very understanding with which Maharaj started, that by very nature, we are non-violent. So this is the first powerful truth, the first powerful technique that we need to imbibe, we need to cognize that by very nature, we are non-violent. Then what does that mean? That by very nature, if I am non-violent, that means that we do not have to work to become non-violent, but rather we have to just detoxify ourselves from the various violent behavior patterns that we have imbibed. That's not our true nature. Being violent is not our true nature. Our true nature is being non-violent. That means it's very easy, to get back to our true nature. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to work to manifest that non-violent nature in you. You just have to remove something which you have acquired over a period of time. When you grew up in the society, when you learned various things from the society, I can say the wrong learning that you had. We cannot blame anyone else, but yes, this is how our society is. This is how we have been cognizing, and this is how we become. But very powerful, I can say that takeaway we all can have, that to be non-violent, we do not have to do something. It's not something that need to be manifested or imbibed, but rather the violence has to be removed. So in this session, we are going to be learning about, this kind of various powerful understanding and truth for you to give this experience directly from the Swamiji's teachings to all of you.
And a big promoter of vegetarianism, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, it is through non-vegetarian diet, these kind of violent kind of toxins, we can say, come into our system and play a role in just nourishing that inner violence that that is inserted also inside us. Nobody, as we say, is born violent. Nobody has these tendencies. It is just picked up as a reaction from the society that is around us. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, on all of his Mahaparamashivamam programs and sessions with people, brings out the non-violence, the truth of non-violence inside of each of us, and helps us, as Maharaj was sharing, detoxify ourselves from all of the toxins that are inserted into us that are labeled as violent. That if you want to get something done, there is a necessary action that needs to be done to be violent, to be aggressive. If you are not violent in nature, you are supposed to be seen as a coward. These kind of wrong ideas, because either somebody has this over idea that somebody has to be either violent, and they are violent to be able to fulfill a purpose that they want to do, or they're not able to fulfill that purpose. Hence, and they have a wrong idea that they must be only violent to fulfill that purpose, and hence they don't want to be that way. That is not in the way they want to express. So they just have a fear and they just don't move. And this way, people get stuck, whether in the rajasic way or in the tamasic way, whether they're aggressively trying to go out and make decisions thinking that only violence is the way, or they are afraid that they are violent, that they will show violence, and they don't want to be that way and don't do anything at all. This is kind of some of the dilemmas that people are stuck in, and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism does the important job of addressing Hinduism's basics. And one of those is vegetarianism as a lifestyle, because it is in the non-vegetarian food, in the meat industry, that does so much to insert violent kind of muscle memory and biomemories into us. Because when it comes to the way that the animals are butchered and taken away, we believe that what we are is what we eat is what we are. So if we are eating something that is full of fear, violence, and surrounded by a lot of anxiety and death, literally, then that is what we will become. And that is why the vegetarian industry, the non-vegetarian industry, the meat industry, has a lot to do to contribute to the violence that we see in the world. And in the process of our programs, in the process of becoming more Hindu, becoming just more spiritual, natural, and understanding our very nature is non-violent, we find that one of the first habits that many of us drop is the non-vegetarian food first. Yes.
So looking into the one aspect, which Maharaj was talking also, that most of us do not understand what being non-violent means. How I am going to be functioning day to day in society where so much of violence is there, and you have to do so much to sustain yourself, just to protect yourself against the so many of crimes that is happening against you. It's very difficult for most of us to recognize that the life without violence is possible. And if we cognize that, not cognizing, even if we think of that life without violence is possible, we only think as a living a coward life. That's the image that has been presented. That being a non-violent means literally withdrawing from the life. Whatever is being subjected to you, go through it. And this is what again and again distances people from being a non-violent also. This is not the right understanding that we need to have, or that is about the non-violent. Non-violence is not about withdrawing from the life, or not something that you become coward or become a kind of attack for somebody, that somebody comes, attacks you, abuse you, and you just tolerate it. That is not the kind of understanding is from Hinduism about the non-violence. We all have, the understanding even that is given about the non-violence. One side we are fed. Why you need to be violent? You are continuously fed through the various sources, through the movies, through the books, through the teachings that is given to you. And you are actually encouraged to celebrate violence in your life. And at the same time, because it's not your nature, you do not settle with yourself. You always feel uncomfortable being violent. It's not our nature, so you can never settle with us being violent. You yourself become very uncomfortable with yourself, and you do look. You start looking for solutions of being non-violent. But the moment when you look for the non-violent solutions, there are also the wrong cognitions about the non-violence is given to you, again putting into the same delusion, or I can say the same suffocation. You are forced to live with the violent pattern, the violent behavior. Here, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is giving us solutions on how, rather than solution, I would say the right understanding about what the non-violence is, how to get out of the violence, and how to manifest and start living our natural life, or start radiating the non-violent lifestyle. So one of the solutions that Maharaj is giving, having a vegetarian lifestyle, surely the vegetarian lifestyle on the very physical level, you can detoxify yourself from the fears or the violence that you start inculcating in you. When we kill the animals, they go through the pain, they go through the suffering, and it is immense pain and suffering. We all know it should be very easy for every one of us to relate. Even if we get the simple cut in our finger, we know how much of pain we go through, how much of suffering we go through. Small pain, We know how difficult it is to handle. Understand? The animals are subjected to so much of cruelty, so much of suffering they go through in their life, and then they are killed. And all those pain and suffering get stored in their DNA. They have this quality. The animal being have the quality to store the pain in their DNA and replicate into the human DNA. So when we consume that meat, when we make their meat as part of our system after the digestion process, their DNA gets replicated in us. So the violence and suffering that they went through, the amount of suffering or the violence they had, and then the hatred that they create towards the life. Understand? When they are going through the suffering, it is the outside world which is causing, which is giving pain and suffering to them. So at the same time, they develop a lot of hatred towards the outer world, towards the people, towards the human being, towards the nature itself, towards the unknown itself. When you consume the same DNA, you also manifest the same quality in you without knowing why you have so much of hatred towards the other people. Understand? You may not be knowing why you hate the nature, why you hate the unknown, why you hate the people. The real reason is because of the meat that we consume in our life. So they are one of the major sources for violence in all of us. And that can only be avoided by being a vegetarian lifestyle, being imbibed a vegetarian lifestyle in our life. Understand? It has a real science. It's not something that we talk about, on the moral ground, that morally it is wrong to kill the animals. And we may give some other other reasons, like, okay, then what about the plants also? They also has the feelings. They also can experience. Yes, they can experience. But the level at which pain and suffering is experienced, the level at which it is stored, the level at which it is replicated in the other's DNA is completely different. And that is where we need to look into those facts. So there are various other reasons, that we can talk about when we talk about why one should become vegetarian. But when we talk from the angle of non-violence, this is the reason what Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism gives, that when we consume the animal meat, we do replicate the DNA that they carry, the pain, suffering, hatred, anger, suffocation that has settled into their DNA becomes part of your DNA. And then you do not know why you are manifesting all these qualities. And because you start manifesting these qualities, you are literally caught into it. You start behaving based on that. Your thinking process changes, your visualization changes, your action changes, your thinking changes, everything changes. And you do not have control over that, because that is part of your DNA, that is deeply embedded in your DNA. And we continue to become violent, So this is one of the things that if you want to manifest a non-violence in your life, this is must that you need to become vegetarian in your life. You need to imbibe vegetarian lifestyle.
Yes, Maharaj. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has done more than just giving us tools to be able to physically detox ourselves by recommending and also showing the various possibilities that happen when somebody has a vegetarian diet. The possibilities are the way up to the level of manifesting extraordinary powers, to be able to use the full capacity of your brain and to be able to manifest extraordinary powers like the third eye reading, the blindfold reading, remote vision, and ability to see through objects, ability to scan a person's body and tell them what are their ailments. These abilities, these powers were there naturally inside Hinduism. They were there on the streets. Everybody had this kind of ability to be able to have this kind of, maybe the modern times may call it intuition, but that was a street talk. That was something that people on the street very much talked and discussed about, hey, how each other, and talked about how this is the power, having a powerful lifestyle and living with extraordinary powers was literally the day-to-day lifestyle in Hinduism. And this was all because we had this vegetarian diet. Our whole agricultural-based economy, our whole food grain-based economy was really thriving because we lived on just this, and we had such a variety, such a such a abundance when it comes to annam, when it comes to food itself. But apart from that, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism also shares with us the intellectual ideas also that do a lot to make the body or make the lifestyle that we have. We have the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism shares with us that greed and fear are literal natural forces in the whole cosmos. Literally, he shares with us that you can map the whole truth about greed into the scientific truth of gravity. You can map the whole truth of fear into the scientific truth of electromagnetism. And this is something that is there and we experience in our lives. Yes, we have, maybe you don't have, you want to be able to gauge what is anger or what is the violence in me and what is the non-violence in me. We were sharing with you that you are naturally non-violent, but you recognize that there is such an energy inside of you, something that is there inside of you that makes you, that triggers you, that you are trained to be triggered as violence and anger. But that is an energy. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism beautifully shares and relieves and completely debunks the idea of violence and anger, sharing that it is actually there as an energy inside of you, that you need to use your intelligence to be able to harness and be able to make conscious decisions that are based on non-violence, not to cause harm to ourselves or to anyone else, not coming from the patterns of self-destruction or destruction of another, but from the path and the truth of dharma, to be able to have the best for the other person and the best for ourselves. From this context, Sanatana Hindu Dharma from time immemorial has been sharing the truth about ahimsa to the world. And greed and fear, we are seeing today that greed, instead of performing its expected role, has started awakening fear in everyone. And fear, instead of performing its expected role, has started kindling delusional arrogance in you. The extreme idea of pleasure, instead of exciting you and inspiring you, is draining you, addicting you to all kinds of things in the modern day. And it is draining and collapsing. The addictions that we see that are there to drugs, to food, to pornography, to violence pornography. All of these are just the result of fear and greed being used not for their expected role, not to inspire you, not to excite you, not to warn you, to be protective, not to give you the intelligence, but to give you just a dumb, mundane life of going behind fears and going behind your greeds. And it literally makes you a slave to the whole fear and greed rather than the master of the fear and greed. When we manifest the powers of Paramashiva, we are able to experience ourselves as oneness with Paramashiva. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism tells his upbringing in this case. He says that he had himself slept on the lap of his very guru, Arunagiri Yogeshwara, and from that experience, he shares that he knows the 25 states of consciousness, and the most beautiful state of consciousness that he has experienced was literally on the lap of his gurus. And that is what is the most exciting. That is the most treasured thing amongst us Hindus, to be able to strive for the highest level of bhakti, to be able to be at the feet of our guru. That is what we greed for. That is what we fear that we should not forget to want. This is the higher struggles in life. This is what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is slowly training us and showing us how to, inside our own cognitions, detox ourselves from the wrong ideas about what is greed, what is fear, and really have the powerful understandings about these, and then use these to discipline ourselves, to channel ourselves to be able to be optimizing the energy that we have, whether it is anger or in the form of energy inside you, whatever it may be, to be able to channel that and be able to use it to do amazing things in the world today. And we are seeing that this is in fact a nature in Hindus to be non-violent and to be at the same time extremely intelligent, to be able to set up so much of wonderful infrastructure from time immemorial, thousands of libraries, thousands of temples, to be able to radiate enlightenment, and so much of strategy that involves dharma, to be able to make sure that civilizations are not wiped out by anything, whether it comes from invasions or pandemics or anything, but to be able to save lives, to keep the world alive, to keep humanity alive, to keep humanity thriving. That was the purpose of dharma, and that is because we are a very non-violence centric religion. Yes.
So one thing, many of us, like when we are talking about the fear and greed, how we drive ourselves in the outer world through the fear, greed, comparison, jealousy, these are the fuel which keeps us active, engaged, or keep running us for the various things that we want to manifest in our life. For us to understand what exactly non-violence is, to understand, maybe many of us can understand what the violence is, and then we can understand the absence of those things could be a non-violent, and then experiencing the exact non-violence space within you. See, all of us have this experience of living the life where we chase things. We decide to manifest certain things or certain reality in our life, but all will be driven by the greed. You are, whether it's award, reward, salary, or anything else that we look for in our life is mostly centered on the greed. And we have been functioning based on that. Understand? Same way, the fear. So if the greed doesn't work, the fear is used by the outward people, and through the fear, you are continuously made to be active or made to be working for somebody else. Now, understand, this is one of the this is one of the violent state in which we all are living. This is another form of violence where we are living, where we have to work only when we are triggered by the fear, greed, or comparison, jealousy, all these qualities. When all these qualities drive us to live a life, again, this is the life of living with the violence. So now comes the questions, okay, what exactly means or what it means to live a non-violent life again. So when we understand that the life is possible to live on the cosmic truths, when we imbibe the cosmic truths, the powerful cognitions shared by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had shared, revealed, decoded the various powerful truths from the Hindu scriptures, Vedas and Agamas, and has presented in a way that modern mind can grasp it. For many of us, it would be really difficult to cognize or even logically understand the various truths presented in our scriptures. And that is where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has taken responsibility, and he himself has revealed, decoded, and from those public
He didn't read the content. Always our focus would be on sound. infused more with the Supreme Pontiff, with shared one vision when it came to being able to address the world after the post-corona world. That the world is going to change, and he said that those who decide that they want this lifestyle, those who go up and up and go to become successful, but those who are going to melt down and collapse, it's your choice. It's your choice. Anything but anything you're going to what are you doing that you are conscious, that you want these are powerful conversations that not manifest in our life, powerful, get inside the day, and just see, try this, and this is the inspiration and the divine wisdom comes from some just against the session. You still the audience to invite anybody who's watching to sign up for the Mahaprabhu session that is happening today, free, and it's going on right now. Please message the WhatsApp members and they're projecting and how to scan if you are meeting the session that is happening right now. It's a free session. You should definitely join it and just get the powerful things and powerful combinations and try to really start building consciousness with and also you want to share a few words with me on Hinduism about how we have the items that is shown to cinema and film. And also, we also encourage many of those who are watching us now to be followed. We're following signs of this whole violence with cinema, this case. How will this become something cliche, something that is uninteresting now? And so we want to speak more of that and speak more interesting things to do. Let's have a discussion. Go ahead and give it your comment. And let's now watch a small clip from the sharing about science and cinema.
Constantly, this Indian cinema is teaching violence as heroism. Oh God. So much violence is not required to run your life. But it is so unfortunate, Indian cinema makes you believe only if you are violent, you can survive, which is not true. Raising the negativity, friction among the human beings and encashing the cheap emotions, triggering the cheap emotions and making money. Most cheapest business. I've always seen in this Indian cinemas, the hero will tell, come on, kill that fellow, come what may, we will face it later. Actually, after that, when he is arrested and put in jail, he will not be able to face it. This is exactly they are teaching the Indian youth. Indian youth also behaves the same way. Come on, let's do it and face what comes after that. But after that, when it comes, they will not be able to face. The blind spot based thinking. Listen. All this blind spot based thinking, blind spot based mental system will collapse now in this pralaya. Actually, non-violence is the real heroism. We should teach our next generation how to take the non-violence and blissful coexistence to your core level. All this violence-centric heroism and violence-centric hero worship stories, everything should be moved away from the next generation. Violence should not be taught as heroism. Making yourself rich, happy, blissful through happy coexistence. That should be the lifestyle, and that is only going to be the future. Youth is not going to believe anymore this violence instigating ideologies. It is time human beings become matured. I am telling you, this pralaya is going to teach lesson to all the human beings. Please understand. Really, the meat industry should disappear from planet Earth. Understand? This pralaya is going to remove meat industry, make vegetarianism as a mainstream lifestyle. All the blind spot based thinking, delusion based thinking, false idea of security, all this will melt down. All this will melt down. The earlier you remove all this from your life, great for
we have some of the moments that we want to share, and also have the opportunity now to we have always the orientation of non-violence will be loving a master, which does not belong to the other today. Something that is deep in the being, that is subject to reality. Thank you. So I like this comment. Thank you for the comment. We are from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism or what is your understanding? And
yet when you put your comments and your opinion about this and you ask for the clarification. So here he is saying that, I'll read it again, that your statement of non-violence is simply about loving a master, which does not belong to the reality of today. Okay. So here, when we say that it does not belong to the reality of today, about loving a master is the ultimate reality and the most easiest reality that you can manifest in your life. Understand? Then he said that something that touches deep in your being, that is the subjective reality. Yes, everyone have their own, go through their own subjective reality, and we do acknowledge and recognize the various subjective reality of an individual. And that is how the Hinduism teaches us to respect the subjective reality or subjective experience of everyone. But understanding, why it is important and why do we emphasize that being in the love with the Guru can heal the heal the violence from within us. Understand? When we go through, when we have, whether it is fear and greed, still it's a very soft word when I say, when we actually go through it, when you go through the fear and greed, coming out of it may not be that easy for every one of us. Okay, this is one side. Then let us look into the violence when we go through the violence in our life. Understand, all of us, this is our subjective reality for all of us. Violence is a subjective reality. I doubt if any one of us have not gone through violence in their life. We do go through it. So when we go through the violence, are we able to act out of intelligence, or are we completely taken over by the violence that is there in us? We know we are completely taken over. We do not know what we are saying. We do not know what we are going to do. Only when we have done, only when that violence settles, we know that we have done a big mistake that cannot be repaired in our life. Understand? It's very difficult. And that is the time you need that violence can only be cooled down by the love of the Guru. Only the Guru has immense, infinite love, which can actually literally overpower you and heal the violence, heal the damage that has happened in you because of the violence. Understand, when we go through the violence, we do not have control on ourselves at all. We do not have it. We literally, what violence wants us to do, we do that. And many of the actions that we take when we are going through the violence, we do repent. And that is also the subjective reality, subjective experience of all of us. We all know, and that's why we do not want to be violent in our life. But the moment it comes, we do not know what to do. It does whatever it wants to do. But by the time it has done, the mistake has happened. The crime has happened. That cannot be repaired. Understand those situations when an enlightened master, when Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the incarnation of Paramashiva, when he trains us, when he works on healing all of us from the violence that we are carrying, when he takes us through the surgery, when we go through that actual emotions, it is the love of the master only which makes us not to take any wrong actions in our life. Only the love of the master can overpower the amount of violence that we have in our life. Nothing else. And understand, this is the truth. This is the experience of all the disciples of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The only his love can overpower the violence that we have, nothing else. When we try to overcome the violence from ourselves, it's very, very difficult, almost impossible for most of us. We do give many techniques. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has given many techniques, many methods. But being in his physical presence, living in his KAILASA, living as his sannyasi, is the only way where actually, you can heal your violence because of a very simple reason. Only the love of the master can overpower the violence that you have inside you and help you gracefully, beautifully get out of the violence in your life. And that is why we are emphasizing on that. It may not be a reality, but it can become a reality for you. It's not something very difficult, You can become part of the Guru's life. You don't have to be always away from it. You don't have to always think this is not a reality for me. You can make it a reality, and it is possible. When Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself has opened a space for all of us to come and be part of his mission, be part or live as his disciples. You can be, you can become his disciple. You can apply for Adinvasi. You can apply for sannyasi and come and experience this. Make it a reality for yourself. It doesn't have to be something which is not a reality for you. So easy. It's very easy for all of us to make it a reality and experience the real non-violence in our life. Make the non-violence as the subjective reality of your life.
Yes. And when you have this love towards the master, it is just the reflection of the love that you have for your own possibility, for your own consciousness itself. And that is what happens when you go in front of the Guru. It is that very love that is not, it is boundless. It is not directional or conditional in any sense. It is experienced as boundless love, unconditional love that just heals you through all of the traumas in your life, all of the negativity, all of the fear, all of the violence that you've experienced. It penetrates and hits the love that you have for yourself. That is an extremely powerful thing that is done. And this process is what is called the initiation, when it penetrates through all your layers of your being and hits you exactly where it is that you feel you are extraordinary. You are not just this body and mind. You are something more. There is a possibility, a higher purpose for you. There is a bigger meaning for you. There is something more than you are, than just this 40, 50, 100 years of life and one body and one mind and one one spouse or one family. There is more to this. When you have this understanding, when you want this possibility more than anything in your life, the Guru happens. And fortunately for us, we have the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and in his program directly telling us the techniques and putting us into the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, literally that state where we recognize that we are consciousness, when we operate from that space. And he goes on telling again and again to us that he is going to go on again and again sharing about unclutching, about how that is the ultimate technique. Nirvikalpa Samadhi. It is the state and original space, that non-violence that we are discussing. That state is that very space of non-violence. When you're in the state that you're in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when you're in this understanding that you're beyond the body and mind, you're something more. When you touch that state every day, when you do regular practice of the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when you practice Samadhi, literally, and you put yourself in that state again and again, you'll understand you're something more. And in that space, you'll understand there is a possibility of love for yourself, love that is instilled to you, none other than by your Guru, because it is that love for yourself only that he is giving. So loving the Master is literally a privilege that we don't know how many lifetimes we've waited for. And when we get it, when we have it, it is the highest reality that we can experience in today's world. It is the reality that we must cherish. And when we have that experience, it is him who just tells us that we are him, we are consciousness, and that is all. He just wants us to flower. There is no directional personal agenda at all. The only understanding that the Supreme Pontiff has been able to give, the reason why he's able to give this experience and many people are able to flower is just because he is boundless. His love is extremely unconditional, and it just radiates in his presence. You don't even need to speak. You don't need to even have a conversation. Just by attending the darshan, just by seeing what it is that he's going on, what is he radiating, come and approaching the Master, the Guru, with a curious mind, with a listening space. This is all that is required. And this is a necessity in life itself. So in this same way, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism teaches us unclutching. And he says, especially during the times when the world is going through so much of turmoil, when the pralaya is happening, by listening and doing the unclutching and making ourselves practice Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we can save many individuals and many Hindus also from collapsing, melting, and unable to bear the changing of times and becoming completely homeless and having so much of poverty. We can save humanity if we just make conscious individuals. So many satsangs, so many talks, so many discourses, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has come out and spoken about unclutching and how to have it as a beautiful technique in your day-to-day life, practicing Samadhi. And if we are all of us who are initiated disciples, let us do more and more of this very practice of unclutching and being and practicing Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And we will see just in a few days, we'll be able to have the intelligence to be able to use the energies that are there within us for manifesting what we want and manifesting the realities of so many people around us also.
Yes. So here, when we talk of the techniques that is given by Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, I know many of the disciples of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has practiced the various technologies, the truths given by him, and they have overcome various violent pattern behavior in their life. And we invite all the devotees and disciples who are watching to share their experience. How the various truths shared by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has helped them to overcome the violence. And I'm sure when people share their experience, when they share their Sakshi Pramana, it is more and more helpful for people to relate and understand this truth and imbibe the truth. One side we are telling about the many truths, but when you actually see that the many people have experienced it, you know that this is the reality and this can work for you too. When you know that it has worked for somebody else, you simply, your brain start cognizing that it is possible for you. It's important for Hinduism share us that when man goes to the moon, so many people celebrate it. It's not that everyone went to the moon. It's very few people who went to the moon, but the whole world celebrates because the whole world get to experience that this is their possibility. They just start experiencing that this is their possibility. They can also go there. They can also experience this. So that's why all the devotees who are watching, I'm sure all of you have experienced a space of non-violence. You have overcome many of your violent patterns, behaviors, just by living the truths given by him, just by sitting with him, just by being around him, just by going through the various processes, initiations that Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has given to all of us. Understand, your sharing can make many more experience this truth, many more experience the non-violent space. And that's why all of you to comment, share your experience, whether you're watching us on the Facebook or on YouTube. We request all of you to put your experiences, Sakshi Pramana, and help many more to experience the same space. Make everyone experience that non-violent life is a possibility. Understand? People believing that non-violence is a possibility for all of them is what Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been doing, and then making all of them experience. And that's why it is all our responsibility also to put the comment there and make everyone feel, make everyone experience the non-violent space.
Yes. And if you see from a civilizational understanding as well, when it comes to Hinduism, we as a civilization always cherished we are the oldest ancient civilization today. Many civilizations have been wiped out because just because they didn't cherish this singular idea of non-violence. If you see many of the civilizations that worked because of divide and rule or divide and conquer, those civilizations were instantaneously wiped out from the inside out because of greed and fear that cannot be controlled. They didn't have a science of spiritualism. They didn't have an understanding that the truths that we must cherish, the dharma that we must protect, is that of non-violence as our very nature, as the truth that we must stand for. And because we stand for this, we strive for greatness. We strive and even are today among the intelligentsia of the whole world. The whole world's intelligentsia is almost also of those who have Hindu origins, because they are able to contribute, they are able to make a difference in the world like none other when it comes to any field, when it comes to technology, when it comes to governance, when it comes to the food industries, when it comes to the management of humans. All of these are Hindus are able to be the front runners just because of their civilizational understanding about who they are and understanding dharma or non-violence is the core, is the center. And this is one of the secrets that make Hinduism such a powerful practice to follow, such a powerful incubator of enlightenment itself. It is because such safe environments are being able to be given, where literally a child will not be able to even see a non-violent act in his life, where a child will not be able to even cognize what is fear in his life. These kind of pristine, beautiful incubators are things that are possible today. It can be a reality today and have been a reality, are a reality in the Nithyananda Gurukuls among the kids who are given these powerful cognitions. It is because they are not exposed to such violence in their lives. They're able to access the non-mechanical parts of their brain and know the higher possibilities of themselves. Know that violence is not something that you need to become a slave to. It is a part of your energy. And that is not something that you need to respond or react to. That energy can be used with your intelligence to do something. In our Nityananda Gurukuls, whenever a child has an experience that they feel something was not right, something was not done in the right way for them or for someone else, they're told, yes, this may be anger that you're experiencing, but this anger is something that you must not react, but you must respond by saying, this is there, this energy is there, let me channel it, let me use it towards becoming a leader myself and helping others also become leaders, helping others also conquer. If you just have one person as an example to show that they have been able to conquer through non-violence, many examples we've seen of how Hindus were able to show that non-violence is the virtue, non-violence is the truth of the whole cosmos. And if you live by it, you will have and you will incur so much of strength to face anything in life. We have seen this throughout our history, and it is because of this very strength of non-violence we've been able to put off so many such invasions, so much of destruction, so much of persecution when it came to this particular one singular quality. And this gave this resilience that we celebrate today. And as a reward for all of this resilience, we are, as Hindus, have found ourselves again at the top of the world. This is something that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is again and again telling us to see, that we are a civilization. We must build our Hindu history personally as a subjective reality for yourself. You must understand what Hinduism did in your life, what parts of the spiritualism of Hinduism has contributed to your life. If you're a Hindu, you must look into your Hindu history, into your personal Hindu history. If you are not, if you are a person entering Hinduism or seeking, if you're a seeker, in the same way, many spiritual truths, many indigenous spiritual truths are there in the world, and you may have been exposed to them in your life. Rebuild that history, refine yourself. This is what we are discussing right now. In the recent address, the presidential address by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, he said that before we build the geography, it is most important to build a history. And when you build the history and when you get the geography, it can never be taken away. And that is the power and the strength of having a powerful understanding of our personal history and also the history of the whole Hinduism itself. And that is what we are building. And it happens with the smallest decisions of how you handle your energy, how you handle your anger, how you handle the fears that happen in your life, how you handle the violence that you are seeing in the world, how do you teach your children about it, how you teach your children to be matured about it, how to give them the powerful cognitions about it. This is the possibilities that KAILASA is giving, is the very discussion in KAILASA, how to live these truths, and is the very subject matter of every time the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism comes out and gives us a beautiful address. It is always in our hearts to discuss these higher truths. So we welcome all of you. Take this opportunity and become an e-citizen. Join the discussion, join the programs, and join us in all of the digital infrastructures of KAILASA, and get to know more and more about how you can contribute as a Hindu, or you can yourself discover Hinduism for yourself, and always how it is actually able to be done just by the single initiation by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
Yes. So here we have been looking into the many of us have understood that one side we see a lot of successful Hindus, and another side we see the Hindus being the most persecuted, most abused, most defeated, have gone through multiple attacks. In this whole thing, we are also taught that whatever we Hindu went through in the past is because we were not violent. We strongly started believing this also, that if where we Hindus are standing today, who is continuously being harassed, abused, their traditions are being abused, their culture is being abused, their very Hindu identity is being abused. Everything that we are facing today, most of us feel that we are not violent because we became non-violent, and we Hindus started running away from even living or practicing non-violence. Understand, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism says withdrawing from the life is not or a state of non-violence, but rather being intensely active, engaged with the life is what is being non-violent. If we all would have been intensely active, if we all would have taken the teachings of our gurus, if we would have taken the teachings of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, if we would have taken the teachings of Vedas and Agamas to the world, we would not be in the situations where we are. If we are going through, if we have gone through so much of persecutions, we have not taken the responsibility to educate ourselves, to inform ourselves, present ourselves into the international forums, which today Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is doing it. And that is the real non-violence, what he teaches. If we Hindu start living non-violence again, all the problem that we are facing, collectively and individually in our life, whether it is globally or locally, all those problems will start disappearing when we start living a non-violent life. And that's why we invite all of you to be part of e-citizen, become e-citizen, where Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism continuously enriches you, empowers you with the various higher truths of the cosmos, higher truths from the Vedas and Agamas, make you the real non-violent, a real hero, and manifest again all the success that we Hindus are looking for, all Hindus that we need today. What we need today is not to be violent, but rather reclaiming the state of non-violence, reclaiming the state that living the space of non-violence, and from that space being intensely active, enriching the world, presenting our side of a story, becoming part of KAILASA, and be part of this mission of presenting Hindus in the global diaspora, on the international forums. And that's why it's very important for all of you to become part of e-citizen, where you can be continuously fed through the right understanding about Hinduism and making you live the right Hinduism, making you build the right identity, where you do not feel, the hatred of being Hindu, where you start celebrating, where you start living powerfully, where you start feeling pride of being Hindu, being who you are, and what is your history, what is your scriptural history, what your rishis, your gurus, the sannyasis taught to us. We all will start living with that pride. Right now, all of them, we do not want to associate ourselves with the Hinduism. We do not want to associate with any of the gurus. So much of shame has been created, and all are Hindus. Understand? Becoming part of KAILASA, becoming e-citizen is an initiative for you to start living with the pride. Understand? If you want to live Hinduism with the pride, if you want to experience and live, be a proud Hindu, be a e-citizen of the KAILASA.
And we have a comment from a person there in YouTube. Thank you for sharing your comment, Nithyananda Dev. You have beautifully told, in essence, what we've been sharing, and I believe this also should come from your experience. He says that there is no logic that can explain the feelings you experience when you're sitting in the presence of Swamiji, Nithyananda Paramashivam, His Divine Holiness. Yes, this is an absolute beautiful statement. Thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate your participation in our discussion about how nonviolence is the real heroism, and how this divine presence of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, we can experience something that is beyond our logic. Beautiful, the love of the existence itself, the love of the cosmos itself, the love of the Guru. So with this, we wanted to thank you all for joining us and being a part of our discussion today. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for sharing and liking our video and giving your comments. And if you join us again every night, the Nithyananda TV show, we do it every evening, and we want to welcome everyone to call us, have a conversation. If you're interested in KAILASA, dial the WhatsApp number that is there projected in your screen. Let's have a conversation. Let's move this into your house, into a beautiful conversation that we can have with you. Just dial the WhatsApp number and we'll get back to you. And In last thing before we finish, join the session today evening with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. It is something you don't want to miss. It is something that nobody should miss. It is something that we should cherish as he is available to us now and making himself available to us in the Mahaparamishivam sessions that are happening right now today. We're going to have a beautiful session and a darshan with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. You can see him. You can have a conversation. Start this beautiful experience of the loving guru-disciple relationship, and inviting you to the Mahaparamishivam session. You can join us, scan the QR code, or go to the link that is being projected to you, or just give us a WhatsApp message and we'll share with you how to involve yourself, how to enroll yourself into the session tonight. And with that, we want to lead to the beautiful session that is the satsang, the Nitya satsang by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Let us prepare ourselves to best receive the truths that he is going to share with us today in the satsang. So let us get into a meditative space. Please sit straight with your head, neck, and spine in a straight line. Inhale and exhale as deeply as possible and as slowly as possible. Visualize yourself as Paramashiva, sitting with 25 heads, 75 eyes, and 50 arms. And let us chant the Mahavakya, Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
नित्यानन्देश्वर परमशिव समारम्भाम् नित्यानन्देश्वरि पराशक्ति मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरु परम्पराम्. I welcome you all with my love and respects. I welcome all the living and practicing Hindus from all over the world. I welcome all the Sarvanya Pita Kartas, manifestors, Sarvavarityagis, Shri Mahans, Mahans, Kotaris, Tanedars, visitors, viewers, Kayakalpa Yoga participants, KAILASA's e-Gurukul students, KAILASA's NHU students, Paramashiva Ganas, and Paramashivoham Season 8 participants, everyone having Nayanadiksha, and all those watching us live on KAILASA TV, KAILASA's NTV, KAILASA's HNTV, KAILASA's Enlighten app, and other social media platforms. I welcome all of you with my love and respects. Paramashiva's direct message from KAILASA. Understand this pralaya which is happening now as some good news, some great news. There's no bad news. Listen. Good news is your mental setup, the mind you built, is with the mixture of some delusional beliefs, false hopes, false security, blind spots, and some true, powerful, real cognitions. Understand? Your mind is mixture of both. I should say, for a common man, the powerful cognitions is very less percentage. Delusions, hopes, blind spots are all large number of percentage. I'll give you some example for blind spots. People in anger, in rage, sometimes think, come on, let's do it and face what comes after that. But when after effects, the side effect, the result of what they have done, when it comes, they can't face. That is what I call blind spot based mental setup. Sometimes people make decisions arrogantly. You can see even in Indian movies. Constantly this Indian cinema is teaching violence as heroism. Oh God. So much violence is not required to run your life. But it is so unfortunate, Indian cinema makes you believe only if you are violent, you can survive, which is not true. Raising the negativity, friction among the human beings and encashing the cheap emotions, triggering the cheap emotions and making money. Most cheapest business. I've always seen in this Indian cinemas, the hero will tell, come on, kill that fellow, come what may, we will face it later. Actually, after that, when he is arrested and put in jail, he will not be able to face it. This is exactly they are teaching the Indian youth. Indian youth also behaves the same way. Come on, let's do it and face what comes after that. But after that, when it comes, they will not be able to face. The blind spot based thinking. listen. All this blind spot based thinking, blind spot based mental system will collapse now in this pralaya. Actually, non-violence is the real heroism. We should teach our next generation how to take the non-violence and blissful coexistence to your core level. All this violence-centric heroism and violence-centric hero worship stories, everything should be moved away from the next generation. Violence should not be taught as heroism. Making yourself rich, happy, blissful through happy coexistence. That should be the lifestyle, and that is only going to be the future. Youth is not going to believe anymore this violence instigating ideologies. It is time human beings become matured. I am telling you, this pralaya is going to teach lesson to all the human beings. Please understand. Really, the meat industry should disappear from planet Earth. Understand? This pralaya is going to remove meat industry, make vegetarianism as a mainstream lifestyle. All the blind spot based thinking, delusion based thinking, false idea of security, all this will melt down. All this will melt down. The earlier you remove all this from your life, great for you. Some of the things I am repeating continuously, and I am going to repeat continuously for next few more days, till it reaches everyone. Because these are first principles to survive this pralaya. First principles to survive this pralaya. Understand? All of you have a great possibility now using this situation, what is happening externally and its impact inside you can be beautifully used, and you can become enlightened. You can have superconscious breakthrough. Because all the peer pressure is taken away. Now there is no pressure, no jealousy, no comparison, no peer pressure. Everything is taken away. Lots of false things are melting down. Lots of life negative ideas are collapsing. The real understanding about the wealth is emerging. Real clarity about strength is emerging, I tell you. Human beings will understand the need for consciousness-based lifestyle through this pralaya, and earlier the human beings understand, quicker they will sail through this pralaya, which is happening now. The great deluge. I tell you, extreme chronic greed-based economy, chronic pleasure-based lifestyle, chronic fear-based ruling structure, everything has become overdose. Whether the depth of the pleasure, the fear needed to rule, to keep the law and order in the society, or the greed which needs to be instigated for human beings to be productive, everything has become excessive. It has reached to the blind spot level, means the greed, instead of inspiring you, has started putting fear. Fear, instead of frightening you, started addicting you for the fear. When it crosses certain limit, it enters into your system and in a way emboldens you. What can be done? Okay, let it be. It becomes delusional arrogance. Everything due to its excess is fully messed up. Greed, instead of performing its expected role, started awakening fear. Fear, instead of performing its expected role, started kindling the delusional arrogance in you, the extreme idea of pleasure, instead of exciting, inspiring you, started draining and addicting. All the ideas of modern day pleasure is like getting drained and collapsing. Till collapsing, you consider that as a pleasure. Whether it's a drug or a sex, pornography or ornography. Ornography means, when I use the word VORNO, ornography, violence pornography. Just like how people are addicted to pornography, there are people addicted to violent scenes, the violence worship. That's what I call ornography. And people who are addicted to this terror, ghost, horror movie, maybe we can call gornography. Pornography, ornography, gornography. All this is falsely identified as pleasure all the three, pornography, extreme violence worship, ornography, ghost, horror, terrorizing, illogically terrorizing you, that horror movies, I call it gornography. All the three permanently damages your ability to experience higher states of consciousness or deeper states of consciousness peacefully. Your inner peace, your ability to experience inner peace is permanently damaged by all these three: pornography, ornography, gornography. Avoid all these three as much as you can. Pornography, horror, ghost movies, sceneries, and violence worship. Worshipping violence, gory scenes, like cutting the head. Avoid all the three. All the three permanently damages your ability to have peaceful experience of higher states of consciousness. Listen. Now, the mental setup worshipping all these three will melt down. This pralaya will take away all kinds of illusions and delusions. This pralaya all kinds of illusions and delusions will be taken away. people who are able to be energetic, alive, active, sharply thinking, strategizing, without the peer pressure of jealousy, comparison, they are going to accumulate exorbitant amount of wealth. Understand? All the people who can function, think, work, get excited only by peer pressure, jealousy, comparison are just going to dry and wither out, because all the peer pressure, jealousy, comparison, everything is going to be taken away from life. If your mental setup is such, you can think only with peer pressure, jealousy, comparison, you don't have future. Your active, excited hours will drastically drop down to 5%. You will be almost in depression, low mood, non-thinking, non-excited, inactive. Whoever is able to excite themselves with powerful cognitions, in tune with the cosmos, you are active just because you feel like enriching the world, supporting the world, contributing to the world. If your mental setup is based on contribution, enriching, spiritual strength and excitement, you are going to be active continuously and you are going to accumulate exorbitant wealth. Because all the wealth of the peer pressure based gang is going to be left. It's going to melt down. The peer pressure based industries will melt down. Contribution based industries will shoot up. I tell you. That is why I am telling, billionaires are going to become bankrupt and startup companies are going to become billion-dollar companies. Because it is all going to be now all about your foundation. Who is going to be energetic, excited, exalted, inspired? Post-pralaya is all going to matter. Is your mental setup, is your consciousness, is your lifestyle going to keep you up, going post-pralaya, post-corona world? Or are you going to melt down, collapse in this pralaya? That is all is going to be the deciding. Understand? That is going to be really deciding. Infuse more and more sattvic energy. Infuse more and more powerful cognitions. Infuse more and more unclutching. Like a parrot, I wanted to repeat this 24 hours. Please learn unclutching. Please practice unclutching. Please learn unclutching. Please practice unclutching. Unclutching will help you to keep yourself mentally healthy. Through unclutching, you can avoid mental breakdown during this pandemic fatigue. Learning unclutching, practicing unclutching, you will have superconscious breakthrough. You can sail through this whole pralaya. I want to repeat all these like 1008 times. If you can, please make this as your ringtone. Unclutching will help you to keep yourself physically, mentally fit, active during this pralaya. Unclutching will give you super conscious breakthrough to survive this pralaya. I have so many wonderful things to teach to the world, but now immediately world needs unclutching as the survival need. How many people I'll be able to teach unclutching? Till December 14th, that many people I'll be able to save from this pralaya. It's not too late. Even now, every individual, we all reach out and teach them how to sit in Nirvikalpa Samadhi unclutched. We can save them. Understand? The most successful people from the delusional fields and industries are going to commit suicide. Because these delusions are melting down, their very identity is melting down. They don't want to live. When their identity is melting down, they feel death is much better than living without their identity. That is why you see so many suicides in entertainment industry. In every field, melting down of human beings is inevitable during this pralaya. By teaching, unclutching and making them practice Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we can save individuals without melting down, without collapsing. If you are new to the satsang, please learn unclutching. The link is projected in the screen. Satsang's videos are available. You can learn unclutching. Please start learning and practicing. If you are already initiated disciple, please reach out to your family, friends, as many people as possible. Whole world, teach unclutching. Take this unclutching to the world. Take my words seriously. We can save human beings only by teaching them unclutching, helping them to sit in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nothing else can save human beings now from this pralaya, from this pandemic fatigue. And the way the world is collapsing in this pandemic fatigue, in this pralaya, Last few days I am intensely working on reaching out to as many individuals as possible, teach unclutching to save them from this pandemic fatigue and pralaya. Paramashiva is continuously insisting on reaching out to as many people as possible, teach them unclutching, help them to unclutch, inspire them to unclutch, to keep themselves physically, mentally healthy, stable together. See, this pralaya which is happening is something unique, unheard of. Physically you are not going to die, but socially, economically, morally, mentally, emotionally, whatever you know as you and whatever you know as the world, both are not going to be there. Whatever you know as world is not going to be the same. Because of that, whatever you built as you based on the world you know as the world, because the world you know as the world has melted down, the you know as you will also melt down. Because much of the you know as you is built on the world you know as the world. Because the world you know as the world is melting down, the you know as you will also melt down. I sincerely request all the human beings to learn unclutching and practice it. I sincerely request all my disciples, not only you practice, start reaching out, teach people, understand? Paramashiva has given me this responsibility and he has ordained me to serve, help, assist the whole humanity to sail through this pralaya, this pandemic. I am doing this work as much as I can as humble service to my gurus, Paramashiva, Guru Parampara. Nothing more is a great service to human beings now than teaching them unclutching. Helping them to face this whole pandemic, pralaya happening in front of them. Socially, economically, morally, physically, mentally, what they know as the world is no more the same. Emotionally, human beings are horrified, terrorized, seeing what is going on around them. They need immediate, powerful spiritual solution, conscious solution, that is unclutching. That will absolutely heal everyone inside and outside and help you to settle down with the new evolving reality. Will help you to sail through this pandemic, this whole pralaya. Pralaya has not reached its peak. It will reach its peak by December 14th. Let's help. I sincerely request all the Kailasa Vasis, let's help as many people as we can by reaching out and teaching them unclutching, completion, oneness, ajapa ajapa of Mahavagya, deep feeling connection, yoga, puja, vegetarian diet, nirahara samyama. Let's save humanity by serving the humanity, by teaching unclutching, nirvikalpa samadhi. I wanted to repeat this like parrot for next few more days. Now itself I am telling you, for next few more days, I am going to repeatedly, see I have so many new things to share with you all, but the survival need of the humanity is unclutching and nirvikalpa samadhi. This is not the time to sit and tell you stories and jokes and to show you what all I know and how much I know. No. It's time to attend to the survival needs of the humanity. Humanity really, really, really needs unclutching and nirvikalpa samadhi as survival need. All of you, sit in your home, but whole day, reach out to people digitally. Help them to learn unclutching. Ask them to watch this link which is projected in the screen and make them attend the examination, filling the questionnaire. Educate them, make them practice. Let's reach out to as many people as possible and save them by giving them unclutching and the signs of nirvikalpa samadhi. With this, I bless you all. Let's all radiate with integrity, authenticity, responsibility, enriching, causing, living Shuddhatvaita Saivam. The state, space, powers, being, superconsciousness and Kailasa of Paramashiva. Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. The eternal bliss, Nithyananda. Thank you. Be blissful.